welcome back to the Supercoach Hub AFL podcast. You're on with the host, myself, Scobie, and the man, the myth, the legend. He's back. He just had his 15th birthday yesterday.
Oh,
Joshy, how are you, mate?
yeah, good. Good to be back. Talk some Supercoach, and yeah, really keen to be back.
Wonderful, mate. Wonderful. We just want to start everything off with Verns is currently in some Div 45 basketball game at the moment. He reckons he's on a triple double. We just spoke to him earlier, but we're not too sure of the legitimacy of it currently. But we wish him all the best and hope he's getting some buckets and boards. Not my sport to get into, but we are perfect comment from Global straight away, Joshy. Do some explaining on the mustache, please.
Oh, it's currently gone. Saturday, I was just watching the footy in halftime. Just an impulse decision. Just thought I'd shave it off, and yeah, I feel like I'm 13 again.
You are definitely getting asked for ID next time you step into a responsibly licensed liquor venue. How did you go this week, mate? What's your rank? What's your score?
Scored I think 2,302, and now I'm 8,001st in the rank. So I had a really good start, and it got up to like 2K or something, but significantly dropped the last few weeks. But then making a little bit of a climb back up now.
Yeah, nice, mate. Nice. My current rank at the moment is 3.8K, and I scored a tick over 2.3K. So not the best, not the worst. We're climbing. We'll get there. Market summary, mate. We don't have Verns to shoot
Yes.
to, so
No.
you're going to be back in your original role for this evening. That's why you're on the big bucks.
Yeah.
Market summary. Go for it.
Yeah. Well, we'll start with the most traded in the top 5%, but we'll do top six this week instead of top five, just purely because the number six guy, I know that we're both got interest in him, and with the injury to Richards, he's probably a bit more relevant now. But Harvey Harrison, 421
Hmm.
teams in the top 5% brought him in this week, and that's total 4.7%. I really like it. In his full games this year, he scored 83 and 99. You'd think with all the injuries to Elliott and De Goey, Richards now, and even Hoskin Elliott, I think still a few weeks away. I think his job security is pretty good now, and he's a proven scorer in his full games and even sub games. He came on and made an impact pretty quickly.
Yeah, I've really liked the trade in, especially and not so much for cash generation. I think the job security is pretty solid there. Did play well against Freo. Obviously got the rising star, but I guess if you're bringing him in, that previous score of 99, I think will bode well for cash generation. But you would have to think out of all the rookies so far, I know he's not basement price, but surely he plays through the buys. Surely. Like, we don't have a forward line. It's absolutely like literal shit at the moment. So
Mm.
you'd think that he is very secure.
Yeah, you'd think so. And yeah, as you said, there is literally no one else to go to unless you want to pay 198 for McAuliffe or you miss Fraser. Fraser's probably the
Hmm.
go-to if you don't. I mean, we'll talk about later, but a lot of going early on Dawson. I say early, he's on the bubble, but obviously has a
Yeah.
bye this week. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. The next one coming in at fifth is Jordan Dawson. 479 teams are trading him in. That's 5.4% of the top 5%. What a turnaround he's had. He started the
Mm.
season horrifically. I think it was no tons in the first 5 games. Bottomed out to I think about 517K it says here. But last few weeks, he's tons in the last 5 out of the last 6 games and good scores as well. Coming off a 158. Hawthorn this week, but I think it's 626K. It might be a bit too late to bring him in, I think.
Yeah, you're paying top dollar for that personally, and I
Mm.
know there's not much of a difference, but even a Merits, I think he's 590K, Real's 555. So if you've got plenty of cash to splash, then absolutely, because he looks fantastic. I think he was on 68 or something in the first quarter, which was just insane, Absolutely insane. And Jake Bazza, I know you've just commented Dawson will get dropped. We're talking about Jordan, Smokey Dawson from the Crows, mate. Not is it Will from North?
Yeah, well.
Just to clarify that one. Who do we have next, mate?
Next up is one that, he's probably bottomed out in terms of his price, but I kind of want to caution the people that are trading in because I did Grundy to him a few weeks ago and it has not turned out well so
Oh,
far. But
yes.
Timmy English, 592 teams in the top 5% have brought him in. And that's coming off scores of 87, 91, and 100 flat. His form, since I've traded him in, he's just turned into a donkey. The first 8 weeks of the season, he averaged 117, and that included a 58. So his scoring was absolutely beautiful. But since I've traded him in, two sub hundreds, a flat 100, and those sub hundreds were against Richmond and JUS, who have been giving up a lot of points to Ruckman this year. So I don't know if Darcy's getting too much ruck time. I don't know if English is maybe carrying something or he's just in a bad slump. But I know he's bottomed out. But depending on who their R2s are, if it's Sweet, then sure, go get English. But if it's a Grundy, a Sherry, I'd honestly be holding on to them at this point because I don't know if English is worth it at the moment.
Yeah, I'm not big on that at all. I remember there was a period of time, you and I reckon every day for a week would just argue over whether it's worth going Grundy to English. You pulled the
Yeah.
trigger, I didn't.
Yeah.
I think you're a little bit more disappointed than me currently, but I think in a head-to-head matchup, English scares you more than when you see B Grundy. And I mean,
Yeah.
you saw what happened on, I think it was Thursday night. Grundy gave away a free kick, then he gave a gut punch, or might have came off the arm, whatever happened. It was on -17. So if that doesn't happen, he probably gets a flat ton. I think you're fairly happy with that. English has not blown him out of the water. I think his points from stoppages have been lower than last year, and the Dogs aren't, I guess, actively involved in as many stoppages as what they, I guess, were last year. I think they're on the lower end of the scale for it. So where he got those points from last year, they're not quite there because the stoppages aren't there, and he's not, I guess, having the right environment around him where he used to just get bulk points. Like if you turned into a Doggies game, literally the top two scorers would be M Bontempelli and T English. But these days, thankfully for non-owners, thank God it hasn't occurred like that so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you're saying, we did have a few arguments about it. I wish I went the way that you're arguing because I ended up using my last boost on him. And I tell you what, in the last few weeks, that boost would have been so handy for so many different moves I wanted to make. But I mean, it's just you can't predict a guy who was averaging 117 first 8 rounds with a 58 to just all of a sudden turn into a donkey, especially when he was the #1 ruck last year. But it seems this year things may have changed. Coming at number 3, 661 teams have traded in Salem, and I hate this one. I hate this one so much. I understand it. The defender mid DPP is pretty nice. -19 break even's nice as well. But I mean, he is one of the most injury-prone players in the game. He'd probably be a top 10 in the league in terms of injury-prone players, or if not, very close to that. And before his injury in round 5 when he scored 3, he was only averaging 81.5 in his first 4 games. That includes opening rounds. And then since coming back, he scored 99 and 121. But those scores are against West Coast and St Kilda. Now, we all know St Kilda give up the most points to half-backers, and that's where he got his 121 against. And then the West Coast game, he had 33% CBAs, which he didn't have in the St Kilda game. He had 0. So I'm not sold at all because the 2 games that he's scored since injury is he got CBAs, which he didn't get in the second game, and the second game was against the team that gives up the most points against halfbackers. So I don't like the pick, but you could try persuade me here.
What?
Yeah. Are you on the pick? Do
No,
you think
no,
you?
no
Oh,
fucking way. No, no way at
yeah,
all. Like,
no,
go back if you're seriously contemplating Salem for that price. Is he? Is it 395 or is it 360?
345. So the price isn't too
345.
bad.
So
Yeah,
for someone that, and don't get me wrong, recency bias is like it's real in fantasy sports. But to counter that, go and look at all the halfbacks or defenders that have popped off against St Kilda. Like you would be here all night talking about it. I mean,
mm,
I think we both VC'd Luke Ryan against him the other week, and he went 130.
yeah,
Like it's literally, if he was playing St Kilda every match through the buys, then absolutely it's a golden pick. But nah, like he had 14 marks, 14.
yeah.
That
It's not
that is
sustainable.
unheard of. No, I'm not on that. And I mean, I ran some price projections today at him going at 90. If you want to look at that, you know where to find me on X. But it's not, if you're thinking that this bloke is going to be a fantastic, I guess not in the elite tier of your players, so not in your top 6 or top 8, then I can understand it. But if you think this bloke is just a one-way ticket to a 550k player in one trade, just a sideways with no cash in the bank, then no. Like I think you need to understand the reason why you're bringing him in, but don't look at last week. Like they
Mm,
literally killed the Saints. They did whatever they wanted. Like Gorn had one leg, literally one leg, and popped out a 180. Everyone scored well. So no, I'm not keen on Salem at all. No way.
yeah, I completely agree with everything you just said. But yeah, some people are doing it. Coming at number two, we touched on him a little bit earlier. Will Dawson, 11.7% of the top 5%, total of 1,046 teams have brought him in coming into his buy. I'm not so convinced. On debut, Wright kicked 4 against him, and then Marshall kicked 5 against him on the weekend. So he may have scored well, but I think as an actual game, he got a lot of goals kicked on him. Callan Dawson's in the VFR, obviously still got Biggie toiling away in there as well if they ever bring him back. But I'm just not convinced. I'll probably let you talk about this one because I know that you've thought about going early on him, but I'm not. I'm not going to do it.
The way that I'm thinking right now is because next week I'm going to own Zach Fisher, and this is the reasoning behind Dawson. I own Sexton, I own Zach Fisher. Worst case, and I'm a Tom Stewart owner. Yes, he went 110, but he had like a 103 point last quarter because in my opinion, he's not a premium. So I don't count him. Unfortunately, I started Stewart. No, I didn't start Stewart. I brought him in. So terrible move by myself. But the only way that I think it's viable is if you're looping and you can use DPP to swing, say, a Fisher or I know there's a Sydney rookie that's forward defensive DPP who won't debut, basically donut. But later in the, I guess, almost to the end of the year, it's going to be super handy to be able to potentially say you swap Dawson and with Sexton or Fisher, and then you're looping a Tom Stewart, you're looping your F6. If that works for you, then I can understand it. Absolutely understand it. And in my situation, it does work. But if you're, again, it's the reasoning behind it. Same with the Salem situation. If you're thinking, okay, sweet, Will Dawson, he's looked good. They've obviously got the buy this week. I'm just going to bring him in. Perfect. No worries. He's going to make 150K. That's like, there is a chance that that happens, but I think you really need to understand why you're bringing him in. If it's going to help you through the buys where you can flip that DPP and then potentially start getting loops later on, absolutely, then that's a valid reason. But if you're bringing him in for a rookie and you've got this idea in 4 weeks, I'm going to downgrade him to someone else because he's made 150K, then I'm not sold on that prospect currently.
Yeah, well said. Top trade-in player is Fraser, and he's probably the best
Mm-hmm.
downgrade option in terms of rookies. 178k.
Yep.
A lot of would have missed him who got Richards, but 2017 teams, 22.7% of the top 5% have got him in. So that takes him up to nearly 60% of the top 5% that have him. I reckon that's going to keep growing just purely because there is nothing else to downgrade to at the moment. Minus 36 break even. Looked really good. That was actually the first game that I watched him actually play. And I thought he was really good. Like, he solid overhead. Looks a bit bigger than I thought he actually was. A lot more solid. He did go up forward a little bit after the Norden injury, but I think with Lob coming back in, that's probably not going to happen too much this week. But I was pretty happy with him, and anyone that's bringing him in at that price tag, I think, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm fairly sure you jumped on him last week. I had
Yeah.
the yeah, same here. I had the option to either obviously go Fraser or Richards. Luckily, didn't go Richards just due to my Collingwood bias. But honestly, he's probably the best downgrade option with McAuliffe this week, I reckon. Maybe Sullivan as well. That's getting a bit off topic. The only thing and we talk about this all the time with Bulldogs players, it's the dickhead coach factor. Like, you don't know what's going on there. Like, literally, Rory Lobb's going to request a trade at the end of the year, and Bevo's still going to play him. So, if you're comfortable having him in there, as long as you've got full playing benches, and I know that's very rare, but I would not want him to be, say, F7 with Livingston there, because you've got no idea what Bevo's going to do. He could banish him to literally Taiwan. We have got no idea. Like this, everyone knows what Bevo is like. So
yeah,
he might have a sense of job security, but yeah, you can't trust what's going on in that man's head. But at this stage, him and McAuliffe are probably 1 and 2 for downgrade options this week.
Yeah, I agree on McAuliffe. I know we both went not so early on him. I can't remember what exactly happened, but we got him in and he ended up getting dropped, which wasn't ideal, but in a weird way, it was good in a way because not many people ended up on him. I think only 5% have him, and he's been pretty good, with all the injuries Richmond have, and I think he's had back-to-back games, 60+% CBA. So I agree with you. It's probably Fraser or McAuliffe. If you're looking for one downgrade, could probably go both, but yeah, completely agree with everything you said. We'll move on to the most traded out, and the fifth most traded out player is just extremely unlucky. Owners would have been bouncing for joy when Joe Richards scored 100. I think on Friday night against Freo. But
Friday night, mate. Yep.
Yeah, Friday night. But yeah, he's made them 89K. It could have been a lot worse. He could have got injured on 10,
Absolutely.
been on-field scoring, and made no money at all. But 433 teams are trading him out. It still leaves 5,100 teams with him in the top 5%. And, you could probably hold him with not many guys to go to, but a 5 to 6 week injury. And then by then, Collingwood have most of their players back. So no guarantee to come back in. I think if a guy that you like comes up and you can trade him to, I think by all means trade him out.
Yeah, it's so stiff because he was actually like the role was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, very good. Yeah,
he
pushed up really high up the ground. Yeah, I watched the whole game. He pushed up so high up the ground, which I really liked.
And apparently, I mean, it just goes to show that he's I guess his pain tolerance is pretty good because apparently he felt it early in the fourth quarter and played out the entire last quarter with it. So, I mean, kudos to him, but clearly he's not playing for another 5 weeks. If you've got a full playing bench, I really don't mind holding him. Like, I know that's a stretch and you probably got other issues going on, but if you can hold him, I reckon that'd be a very, very handy downgrade, obviously, once he comes back.
Yeah, I completely agree. The next one I've traded out, and I might regret it this week because Will Graham, 523 teams are trading him out. Suns coming off a loss, and in the VFL, they won by a fair margin. I think it was 50 plus points, and Graham had 25 touches and 7 tackles. So does he get back in potentially? But if he does, obviously the people trading him out are going to hold. But defender mid, you know, good scorer when he was actually playing. Like that's what
Yeah,
was so
absolutely.
annoying about him getting traded out. He's made 160K, so I mean, people who have traded him out still got a decent return from him, but still only a 16 break even. So he could still make roughly 50K more scoring while doing so, especially in the buys if he gets back in. But if he doesn't, then I can understand why people are trading him out.
Yeah, no, I echo everything you've said, mate. I don't disagree with that at all. And they've got the last buy from memory, don't they?
I think so, yes. Oh, they've got that. I
Yes.
think they've got that round 14 buy that is a shocker with like Essendon and I think there's a few other relevant teams in that, like Melbourne and Geelong might be in there as well. I think there's quite a few in that round 14 buy. I think.
Round 14, did you say? If this
I
ever
think that's
loads,
the
I'll be able.
buy,
Yeah, no, they've got that round 14 buy. So yeah,
and
it's
it's
definitely not the
yeah.
last.
I think there's a lot of players out in that one, like Adelaide and Gold Coast, Essendon, Melbourne, like very relevant players out in that buy. But I mean, if you could get 2 games out of him before that buy, a couple more price rises, it'd be nice. But there's no guarantee he comes back in. We
No,
will move on
unfortunately
to
not.
yeah, yeah, not at all. We'll move on to another Sun. 805 teams have traded out Sam Closey.
Hmm.
Makes sense. You know, one of the most servable rookies this year, 235K made so far. Break even of 77. You know, he's shown he can do that at times this year, but also shown that he can score well below it. He's got a pretty low floor, but very high ceiling. Just on
Yep.
that wing, can get some very quiet quarters or even games on that wing at the moment. But I'm keeping him just purely because I think that he can score pretty well, especially at home at People First Stadium against Essendon. But I can completely agree in terms of why you trade him out with that 77 break even if you don't require him for your best 18.
Yeah, no, I completely get that, mate.
Mm,
It's just like, I don't regret trading him out. I kind of just wish I still had him. So it's a bit of both. But obviously, as you said, like if that gets you a premium, by all means, go for it. Been very
absolutely.
serviceable. I've noticed because with players that I trade out, I kind of tend to watch them a lot more that week. And
Yeah.
I noticed in that first quarter, he just butchered it, absolutely butchered it. And
Yeah.
I don't know statistics, but it like handballs out to space rather than two players, and then just getting, I guess, stuck on that wing and everything, and then kicks would just go like 2 meters to the left of someone, so it's not really, it's not classified as an effective kick. And then obviously, if you do that a couple of times, instead of being on say 15, you're on, say 30.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, as I said before, that wing, like the amount of times that he'd be on that wing that the play isn't on was so frustrating. And even he'd change wings the next quarter or a couple of quarters after, and then the play would switch to the other side. In a couple of games, I think that 49 a couple of weeks ago, the prime example. But
Yep.
yeah, you can keep him, you can get rid of him. I don't think he's going to leak too much cash with a 77 break
Nah.
even, but he's certainly not going to make much more. It's just purely with if you want him in that first 18 rounds until he's buy. But yeah, I'm holding, and the next player I'm not holding, and that's Jordan Sweet. Obviously, being dropped.
Yeah, he's got to go. He's got to
Yeah,
go.
everyone that has Grundy and Sherry would be very disappointed. You know, he could have been pretty handy cover in one more game before his bye next week. But as an English corner, I'm pretty happy that he's out because that's one less player they've got to worry about that people will have in their best 18. But in the end, he made 150K, so it wasn't a failed pick at all. I don't think. You know, I know he only had those 2 price rises, but you typically want 150K from a player, and he did exactly that. Obviously, if you had him as your R2, then it was a very bumpy roller coaster ride. But for me, as an R3, I'm stoked with the 150K. And obviously, as you said, he has to go 21.5% of top 5% of trading him out. Total of 1.9K trade out so far.
I think you're spot on about that 150K threshold that we keep talking about, but we've got 4 extra trades than last year, and I think
Mm,
also we get locked into this fantasy of Ruckman just going to score so well, and I mean it's a proven
yeah,
fact they will. Like
yeah,
his scores aren't that bad. He made 150K, but it's just like he had COVID as well.
yeah,
So he
yeah,
missed a week. So there you go. Like that's an
yeah,
extra, argument's sake, 50K. So instead of
yeah.
making 150K, he's made 200K. And then, but I
Mm,
mean, I don't understand why you wouldn't trade him out this week, because if Soldo's coming in literally a week before the buy, they clearly
yeah,
are not
yeah,
very cool with having Sweet in there over, say. And I know Soldo played limited minutes in the sample, but just tells me that they want Soldo in there as soon as humanly possible, and they'll just have, I guess, Finlayson in the backup ruck position.
yeah. Yeah, I don't think he's getting back in with Soldo back in, as you said, so quickly. They could have given him that extra week before the bye. But even when he came back from illness, they backed Vizentini in again and didn't play him. I
Mm,
know they ended up dropping Vizentini the game after because Meg towed him up a bit. But just the fact that he was out with illness and then the next week they didn't bring him back, they backed in the youngster. It screams trade because unless something like Soldo gets injured again, I don't think he's going to be back anytime soon. And the bye next week as well. Just cash him in now. I do understand there's not much to go to, but if you can get somewhere, then I'd be trading in a heartbeat. Moving on to the
absolutely.
most traded out player, another one that was awesome. I know you've missed out on a little bit of cash by this guy, probably roughly 50K. I think you went a little early on him, but Sam
Oh,
Darcy,
oh,
255K made in total, 2,101 teams in the top 5% of trading out this round. And it makes sense. 95 break even. For some reason, Marvel is usually a key forward's paradise, a key position player in general paradise under the lid. No wind, no rain. But for some reason, he scores like a donkey there. I think it's like a 50
mm,
something average there, and other venues is 80 plus. But yeah, 95 break even. If you desperately need him in the best 18, then you can probably keep him one more week. But he's going for me. I can afford to trade him straight directly to Kerno or Caldwell or Dylan Moore, Graham Myers, any of these guys in the one trade. But
yeah.
yeah, 23.6% of top 5% of let Darcy go.
Yeah, it's very weird. Seems to do better when, I guess, the conditions may not be perfect for a young key
Yeah.
forward like that. So, no, I've no, like as you said, alluded to, I traded him out 4 weeks ago, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what price is he? I wouldn't even know right now.
He's 379. I think he's made roughly, looking at this, I think he made like 63K since you traded him out, which, I know
Yeah.
you got a primo for him, but you traded him out after that 49 and you couldn't have predicted the 113 he bounced back with.
Oh, he's fantastic,
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, oh, that's not meant to come up. Sorry, we'll get to that very, very soon. I don't know what's going on tonight, mate, but we've got 140 viewers in here.
Yeah, the Twitter's popping off. I looked at it
Mm.
before, 125 viewers from Twitter, which is good. It's good to
Oh, it's
see that people are
fantastic.
interested in it. So this is
So,
the first week we're doing Twitter, so I think we'll be doing it more.
absolutely. Huge shout out to Jedi behind the scenes. That man knows everything about what's going on here. And obviously, a huge shout out to you, mate, yesterday for your 14th birthday. That was wonderful for you to finally get into
Thank
adolescence.
you.
Um,
Yep.
no, that's all right, mate. We celebrate those things around here. We'll get into some questions now, though. Jordan sent through McAuliffe or Harrison. Cheers, lads.
Oh,
Joshy. What do you reckon? Straight off the bat.
Uh, we've obviously got both, but
Mm,
with Richmond's injuries, I know Collingwood have a lot as well. But because McAuliffe is getting those CBAs, like I said, I think back to back 60 percenters, and he tackles well, and he doesn't find that much of the pill, but he's scored all right, 62 and 75 last couple of weeks. I think just I would be going him. Just is that little bit cheaper. I think is the better role, but Harrison. He scored a 99 last week, but it did take 3 goals to get there. Only the 13 touches. So I do fear a little bit what his scoring would be like if he didn't have those goals in it. But I think McAuliffe just. What about yourself?
yeah, I don't know. I'm weird on Pies rookies, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been a big fan of picking your own team's rookies. So I'm like I reckon they'll both play through the buys, but just midfielder option. I think you've got to go McAuliffe.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
We have Global. Thank you so much for being here, mate. Thank you. You're always here. What am I saying? Um, have around 500k. So Jerry to Gorn and Combin to Houston. Joshy, any issues with that, mate?
Not at all. Jerry's on his bye. He was just quietly an amazing starting pick. Anyone that did it, kudos to them. Same with anyone who
Yeah,
actually took a risk on Meek, because both of them popped off, not only making cash, but also scoring, like really consistent. Houston's coming off that 77, so I'm not sure what his break even is looking like. But if it's not too high, then get him in. I think he's still like a fair way under 600k at the moment, and I've had him all year, and he's been a joy to own. That 77 was a massive outlier on the season he's had as a whole so far.
couldn't have said it better myself, mate. Give us a quick summary on Salem. Your opinion, mate. Everybody knows mine. What are you thinking?
I'm just not for it at all. We spoke about his first 5 games average before that injury. It wasn't that great, low 80s. And then his 2 games back, I don't think you can read much into it when you consider the opposition that he played in West Coast and St Kilda.
Perfect. Yeah, I genuinely do not like the pick at all. No, thank you.
Yeah.
It's just no, no. Global. This isn't a question, but I actually liked it. I'd rather drink vinegar than continue to watch this P Hart English. Traded Grundy to
Yeah.
Marshall, then Marshall to English. Yeah, that's stiff, mate. That's
Yeah, that's
stiff.
stiff.
Don't know what you're going to do after that, but yeah, that's ruck merry-go-round for you, mate, which is, I
Yeah.
mean, great for everybody else around you in the ranks because clearly your ruckmen aren't, I guess, doing what you brought them in for. Another one from Global, which is fantastic. Have a look-see at Travis Boak, maybe a sneaky forward pick. Joshy, take the lead, mate, because I could go on
Uh,
for ages about Boak.
about how much you like it or hate it, because if you like it, I'm the complete
No,
opposite
no,
to you.
go. No.
Yeah.
I will give my opinion after you, mate.
Yes. I mean, the bloke's 36 years old. Last year, I know this year he hasn't been, but last year he was dropped at times, used a sub a lot. He gets no CBAs anymore. I think he's been playing across the wing and also half forward. So it's not the worst role in the world. But look at his scores quickly. So he's 90 plus scores have been against West Coast, St. Kilda. Oh, sorry. His good scores. He scored 90 against West Coast, 86 against Melbourne, 84 against St. Kilda, 94 against Geelong, 91 against Hawthorn, 133, that big spike score against North. Had that
Mhm.
injury affected 29 against Essendon, and then a low 63 against Richmond, and also a 70 against Adelaide. So really, he's had the 1 ton all year, and it was against North Melbourne, who we all know how shit they've been this year.
Mhm.
Take out his 29. I'm not too sure his average would actually be. I think it'd probably be high 80s maybe, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'll let you take the floor on this one. 431k. I'm not interested at all. And I know the Fords are really dour, so it's probably why people are considering him, but I just can't get past that age and 1 ton all season.
How many CBAs has he been getting the last couple of weeks? Just
I
before
I
I
think
give an
I don't
answer.
even think he's been getting any. Like, I don't think even that 130 he got any. I might be
Hmm.
wrong, but I think he's more been playing on the wing and high half forward. But if you can quickly get it up and actually get some evidence onto what I'm saying, but I'm pretty sure
Um,
from when I looked before, he's had none.
if we're
There might be a
looking
few
here,
here and there.
he has had, yeah, literally nothing. Now,
Yeah,
if we have any Port Adelaide fans in the chat or, watching, maybe now is a good time to block your ears because your medical department is an absolute fucking joke. And your captain is the biggest pea-hearted ballerina pensioner's turd I've ever seen. He is softer than butter that's been left out in the sun all day. Absolutely disgusting. If Boak can't get CBAs when your captain, in quotation marks, because he's an absolute pixie, is not actually in the guts, then this bloke who's 79 years old at 430k is not going to be your saviour. I know you're going to talk about someone that maybe isn't on the radar currently for forwards, and you know how much I hate the team that they play for. I would
yeah.
I would rather spend two trades in bringing the bloke you'll talk about in than one on Boak. No, no, absolutely not. Global. Like, if you need, literally, I will write you paragraphs on why not to bring in Boak. Like, I could not care if he scores 170 this week. No way. Absolutely no way. And if he's not in the CBAs and he's playing on the wing and maybe a little bit of high half forward, this is a bloke that can't kick goals. Like, just look at
Mm.
what he has produced so far. It's an absolute no, and I will not endorse Travis Boak in any fantasy format. Like, if that's AFL fantasy, shout out to their absolutely disgusting app where you can't trade DPP players, or Real Dream Team. Travis Boak is not your answer, and we will not be spending any more time on him at all. No. Moving on. But thank you very much for the question, Global. That's one of your worst that you've ever sent in. Normally, you're a very educated man, so please continue to be intelligent. Jay Miranda, a Lear option after round 12. Short answer, Joshy. I think we both know what it's going to be.
Yeah, I'm big on it. I think he came in for Jack Buckley. I think he's only 2 to 3 weeks away, so he'll be coming in not too long after the bye, maybe 1 or 2 games. But I think the way Aaliyah played, I think he holds his spot anyway with Buckley coming back in. Like, 2 match-saving intercept marks down at the Cattery on the weekend and played really well. Don't know if he did. I think he might have got coaches' votes, but I mean, a Mark of the Year nomination as well for one of the clutch intercept marks. And I think he can play as that third tall, even with Buckley and Taylor. So 190k, and I think a very good break even now coming off that 100. So I'm all in, especially with literally no people to go down to
Yeah,
at the
no,
moment.
there's no denying that he literally won them the game. He was absolutely flying. And almost missed the team song because he was out the back signing autographs and taking
That was
selfies. Like,
good. I like that. That was
that's
funny.
amazing. Like, he definitely is an option. Obviously, he's not going to score that much because as I said, he basically won the game for him. So he's going to get incredible scaling. But yeah, he's definitely an option. Definitely an option. We have Blues fan. Oh God, I don't like your kind around here. Actually, what are our thoughts on Sis as a pod for the buy rounds? Proven scorer for 550k. Has a soft dish run on the way home. Richmond twice. Huge ceiling, which helps with the best 18. Nice pod. Joshy, this is right up your alley, mate. What are you thinking on the Sis dog? Yes or no?
I mean, just quickly look at his numbers. I haven't even really given him much thought this season, but he's had 400s in a row, and just before that, 92 and 95. So he looks to be scoring all right. I think he's dropped off a little bit, especially because he's been playing a little bit more key this season with Blake
Mm.
going down. But yeah, looking at his fixture, it's actually not too bad. He's as pointed out here by Blues fan, he's got Richmond twice in the run home. Also has North Melbourne, has West Coast in there, has Collingwood, who actually surprisingly, I've seen the other day, they've been giving up a
Oh,
shit ton of points against halfbacks. A shit ton. Most recently, Luke
and
Ryan, the
Sicily
130.
always kills us.
Yeah,
Always.
so he's got them in there as well, and then a couple others. Like he's got Adelaide twice. We know that Adelaide let Tom Stewart score 138 or something along those lines earlier in the season, and he's been nowhere near that since. So pretty good run, 4 times in a row, and other than a 43 round one against Essendon, hasn't gone under 89. 545k. I'm actually not too against that.
No, absolutely not. No, I think he's a fantastic
Yeah.
pod, and they've got the last buy. I'm fairly sure they do round 15. I could be wrong, but I think they do. So that would be very, very handy. So
Mm,
I mean, there's absolutely nothing. I know it seems to be the flavour of the week is McGovern, but uh,
yeah.
yeah, bending down in the shower, picking up the soap, you're going to get a twang from him. Like the man literally almost had like a punctured lung and still somehow played. Like he is a warrior, but he's going to get injured. Joshy, I'm not going to say anything for this one. You're going to answer this, but Carl wants to know, Biggie Newen, fellas, why is Clarko keeping the acknowledged champion out of the side? Match fixing areas from the ruse. Sad. Now you alluded to why Will Dawson is going to get dropped. So
Yeah, I think there is a chance Newen could come in or Callan Dawson. Just purely because although Dawson's score looked all right, that 70 something on the weekend, he has had 5 goals kicked on him by Marshall and 4 kicked on him by Wright in his 2 games. So he's been getting dominated. We've seen how much Clarko's been changing those key defenders this year. Like I think he's rolled like 6, 7 key defenders down back at the moment with Core,
mm,
Combin, Newen, Dawson, Biggie, the other Dawson. Like that's 6 already. There's probably a couple more. But and even Logue is probably going to get in at some stage this year. I don't know how far away he is with his knee, but it could come back in, or it's going to be Cullen Dawson, or Dawson just holds his spot. There's just so much uncertainty about that Roos key defender post at the moment. But yeah, who knows? He might be back in the champion himself.
yeah, I've got literally nothing to add to that, mate. That was a great summary. Now this is a tricky one. Global, if you had to pick 3 forward line primo trade-in targets for this week, who would they be? I've I'm fucked. I've got no idea.
Well, it depends who he has. Like I know, I was saying earlier this week, Heaney, Flanders, and Zorko are the absolute 3 locks in my top 6 forwards. Rankin, I think, is the 4th one. Obviously, you're not going to get him yet because he's injured. It's still 2, 3 weeks away. But in terms of my forward line, I've
Mm,
got Flanders, Heaney, and Zorko. I've got Zach Fisher, who
yep.
I think his last 4 games or something, he's averaging 116 now. So he could be another one. And then obviously, as I said, I've reserved 1 spot for Rankin, but the one that I'm actually pretty keen on at the moment is Charlie Curnow. I think he's 70 something K down from his starting price this year after averaging 97 last year, nearly up 98. It was high 97s, but going at 91 this year, and it's 92.6 if you take out opening round. So he's had a pretty decent year, especially for the forwards. And during the week, I looked at his run home, and in the last 12 games, 9 of them are in Victoria, and he faces 6 out of the 8 bottom sides in the run home, and they are Dogs, Hawks, Saints, Eagles, Tigers, and North. And if you play for Cash League, he's got the Hawks in the semi final, and he's got Eagles in the prelim, sorry, and then the Saints in the grand final. So they're 3 very soft matchups for a key forward, obviously, in Supercoach finals. And yeah, just the more I look at him, the more I like it. Obviously, question marks on every forward at the moment. You got Jackson sharing the ruck with Darcy. Waterman's
Mm,
coming off a 34. Mackay has had 100 in the last 8 weeks. Myers inconsistent with 4 sub 80 scores, and Dylan Moore has had 3 sub 80 scores in a row. and then Caldwell, Parrish, and Surfield to come back could take CBAs off him. So I feel like there's question marks on every single forward, and for me, it's probably going to be Curnow, I reckon.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
looking at the stats, I don't hate it as much as I did when you just say Charlie Curnow. Like that's, I mean, you could clearly do a lot worse.
There's no one else. Yeah.
Maybe Curnow is in Global's thinking. I'm not too sure. I don't know what his forward line looks like, but I would assume out of the ones that are playing this week, you'd have to have Flanders. I think most people would have Jackson. So and the other ones you mentioned, like Waterman, Mackay, obviously Rankin's injured. I think Curnow is the best shout, actually. Which is, I never ever thought I'd be saying that.
Yeah.
Myers, I just, I think out of the two of them, I cannot believe I'm saying this. I think I prefer Curnow.
Yeah, and I think it's also I like that he does have the scoring history behind him. Like that 97.6 average last year across the whole season. He's got that behind him, which would probably at the moment that 97 would place him as the sixth highest averaging forward. And like, I don't know. There's nothing there. To me, I thought it was going to be Jackson and Rankin rounding out my forward line, but Jackson with Darcy, he just can't score.
Terrible.
He just can't score. Yeah.
I don't. No, obviously they didn't lose on the weekend, but I don't know. Like, surely we're going to see Darcy traded. Surely.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not very Supercoach related, but that will make Jackson very Supercoach relevant again. This I like this. This is from Carl. The 150k thing is misunderstanding. On average, you want to see that sort of return, but you won't get it in each individual, and it's not a set pass fail bar. For every Clossy, there's a Rogers. Absolutely spot on. And we spoke earlier, I think with the addition of more trades, and you kind of lower that a little bit. I wouldn't lower it down to 100k, but say maybe, meet in the middle, 125k. I think if most of our rookies made 125k, we'd be fairly content with that. This one's for you, Joshy. The sir clearly wasn't here for the start of the stream. So, mate, do you just want to let him know what happened to your lip caterpillar? We won't use the profanities that he's sent in. But not like that.
Yeah. Just decided to shave it off, every part of my body isn't Ranger except for my facial hair, so I need to get rid of any possible Ranger I could be associated with. So I don't want any. So I just shaved off the mo, and now no one will know that I've got a little bit of Ranger in me.
Wonderful, mate. Wonderful. We've always said that you looked a little bit like a young Clary Oliver.
Oh, God.
I know you get that quite a bit, mate. All the Milky
Bar. I saw before a Harley Reid from Wish, I reckon. So, I mean, I wish I had half his footy ability. That'd be all right.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't be here with me right now, would you? Blues fan, exactly echoing what we just said before. Really like Curnow as an option, ideally after the bye. Probably the pick of the bunch out of who you listed. Seems the ideal F7 loop, or maybe on field with his huge ceiling plus soft runs. Thoughts? Absolutely. I think you've nailed what we said. And also, like, he's going to be in the race for the Coleman as well. So if they're, 40 points up at 3/4 time, why are they not just going to feed it to him? That's my question. And obviously, you would love that being an owner. I'm fairly sure you concur with that as well, Joshy.
Yeah, absolutely. And even on the weekend, he scored a 90, but he kicked 4 goals 4. If that's 6, 7, 8 instead of 4 goals 4, then you're looking at a massive score. And that's another thing that I like about the Curnow pick is that his ceiling is massive. He can kick those 5, 6 goals games. He's on track. He's leading at the moment. He's on track to win his 3rd Coleman in a row, which is just absolutely ridiculous. especially when I can't remember what doctor, but when he was having all those knee issues, a doctor said one more knee issue and it could be season over, career over for him. So he's done well as much as I hate Carlton.
So does that maybe explain why umpires just literally tell you can't touch Kerno and they pay everything in his favour?
It could be a reason, absolutely.
And from a Supercoach perspective, that is 100% what you want. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The Sir says, sorry for rocking up late, boys. That's fine, mate. You're always here. Any rookies to bring in this week so I can cull sweet? I have rations in the bank right now. Jesus, that's not good, mate. Honestly, in no particular order, Fraser, McAuliffe, Harrison. If you're feeling a little bit fruity, if Finn McRae gets named, I'm very interested with that. I know you hate it. I know
you
you
got to
hate
give
it.
up your love for McRae. He has shown absolutely nothing at AFL level. Absolutely nothing.
No, you are so spot on because he hasn't. He genuinely hasn't. But
Yeah.
I just think I like to see F McRae in black and white in my Supercoach team. But McAuliffe, Harrison, if you somehow miss Sullivan, I'm sure you can grab him and Fraser. They're my nominations. What about yours, Joshy?
I'm the exact same as you in that order. Fraser, McAuliffe, and Harrison. I guess the only thing that separates McAuliffe from Fraser and Harrison is that Fraser and Harrison have that DPP. So I guess it really also depends on what you need position wise.
Yeah. No, I completely get that. And I've just seen a comment, Supercoach Pro, you haven't been skipped, mate. We're leaving that comment till last because I know sweet FA about it and I'm swinging to Joshy to save me on this, okay? All right, so just wait, mate. Just wait. I know you probably need to head out to the gym, get a pump, get that, trend into your massive biceps, but you will be fine, mate. Single mothers can wait, okay? Just wait. We have Sammy Taylor from the Giants, mate. It was a good win on the weekend. You're always here as well. Thoughts on Darcy Cameron to trade in for sweet 3-round average of 115 and Cox now out of the team for about 500k. I prefer him over English as a bit of a pod personally. Right now, I can completely see merit to that. The only thing I would be so shit scared that English goes on one of his runs and averages like 130 for the back end of the year, and you're stuck with Darcy Cameron. And I know he's been good, and he's always going to have that ruck time because we have no one else. But depending on how bad you would feel, knowing at some point you may have to trade, I assume you have gone, but trading Cameron out again to get English in to just hold rank. I think if you are content with knowing that that might be an option, then absolutely Darcy Cameron's a great shout, mate. Joshy, any thoughts?
I wouldn't go Cameron. Maybe if it's a bit cheaper, but 507k at that point, you're probably looking to finish your R2. You don't really want to bring in someone that I think is going to be the sixth, seventh most averaging ruck from here on. You got a lot of guys that are popping off this year with Gorn, English, Grundy, Sherry. Meek's doing really well, although I think he's injured at the moment. But I think there's a lot of guys that I'd be trading in before DC.
Perfect, mate. We have Adamo Baldacchino. Sounds like something you'd need at 7:30 in the morning before work. Toby Green flying under the radar. Not for me. Absolutely not. Joshy, your thoughts?
Yeah, not for me. I traded him in draft a few weeks ago, and besides a couple of high 90s the last couple of weeks, he's been pretty disappointing. Maybe it's because he's above 30 now, but he looks nowhere near his, I think, 60 goal self last season. He's dropped off a fair bit this year.
It was nice to see him kick the winner against the Cats down there.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
yeah, not super coach. Carl, again, do you think any of Shy Bolton, if he gets back to a regular selection or even just a low ceiling, high floor option like Tom Powell, post buy are realistic possibilities or no? Let's break it down, Joshy. Caleb Daniel, can he get back to his best? Yes or no?
I don't think he can. I think he's in Bevo's black book. Like,
Yep.
he's been sub that many times this year, played VFL. I think he's only played 2 full games this year, or even only 1 full game. I actually don't know how much, but even when he was back last week playing that full game with Sanders as sub, he was playing high half forward. And I don't even think he got above 80. I might be wrong there, but I don't think Caleb Daniel's an option anymore, sadly. But maybe next season when he's probably 300k cheaper, 300k price and at a different club, probably.
I will be absolutely shocked if he's not at a different club. No, I do
Yeah.
not think Caleb Daniel is an option at all. Um, Shea Bolton, I have never ever been a fan of this pick, even when he was pumping out tons. I just nah. Like he's one of those blokes that I don't think even he knows where the ball is going when he kicks it, because he just literally gets it and kicks the living shit out of it, whether that's left, right, behind him, on the ground, or literally 45 meters straight up. It's nah. And especially playing for Richmond, like if he was getting 95% CBAs, I could entertain the idea, but he's not. And I
Mm.
don't think that's just magically going to happen. So no. Your thoughts,
Yeah.
Joshy?
I'm completely with you on that. Like, I just quickly pulled up his scores. He had that really good 3-week patch in round 3 to 5 when he scored 119, 133, and 129. But since then, it's been extremely ugly rating. These scores 67, 36, 59, 75, and then on the weekend 97. But you always knew he was going to pop off on Dreamtime. He got concussed in that game as well, so he's not even available this week against Geelong. And I don't think you can possibly bring someone in that in the last 5 weeks hasn't tunned and has gone above 80 once.
I mean, yeah, no,
Yeah.
no. And personally, I don't think Uze is a good enough coach to understand where to play him. He's just stuck in between high half forward, at times deep, and a little bit of midfield. And he's not even going to play this week because of concussion. So, no, thank you. Blues fan on Kerno. He has not looked like himself of last year, even down on form. He's still scoring okay. If we can fix our ball going inside 50, could see a few bags from him. Coleman race a factor as well. Yeah, we spoke about that earlier. I hope to God your ball use going inside 50 doesn't improve. It's nice to
Yeah.
see Carlton just, scramble for it. But I think the Coleman race is a bigger factor than we're giving it credit for. What are your thoughts, Joshy?
Yeah, common race is massive, especially in those last few games. And as I said before, if you play 4 finals in Supercoach, Cash League, or you just want to get those bragging rights over your mates, in those final 3 rounds where, you're playing your semis, your prelim, and also your grand final, with that Coleman race as a factor and also playing Hawthorn, West Coast, and St Kilda, he could literally finish the year 120, 120, 120.
Mm,
And
absolutely.
it's absolutely massive. But yeah, it's a massive factor, and the fact that Carlton are 8th as well, I think also the finals push is a factor. They're probably going to have to get a wriggle on soon. Like, they're only just in that 8. I think 9th and 10th are on the same amount of wins as them. So there's a few factors there that, I think they're going to have to get a few games under their belt in terms of wins, and Kerno is going to be a big factor in that.
And another factor that starts with U and ends in umpires. But we can leave
Yeah.
that for another time. Jake Basser, Merritt or Butters? Jesus, this is hard. Joshy, who you got, mate?
I think there's been a bit of a concern lately against Merritt. Like, he's still been scoring all right, but it kind of looks like Essendon's really starting to put faith into Durham, Perkins, Caldwell, these younger mids at the moment,
Yeah.
and it's taking a little bit of a back seat. You know, he got tagged by Shield a couple of weeks ago, and it was his first sub 100 score, and then just the 119 against Richmond. I say just, but I mean, Richmond have been leaking a lot of points to mids this year, and yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm going to go Butters. Even he got tagged the first half last week. Still got a 113. He's had an insane year. Both of them have, but I'm going to go Butters just.
So am I. So am I.
Yeah.
I'm fairly sure I'm going to be doing whatever I can to bring Merritt in this week. But yeah, and I know Butters had to kick a couple of snags as well to get his score, but he's more than
Yeah.
capable of that. But so is Merritt. I
Oh,
think it's
just quickly as well, I just saw the price difference, 56K. Butters is a bit more expensive, so that could be a factor too. But
yeah.
yeah,
I think I spoke to you earlier in the week, and this is just a personal opinion, a little bit of decision making that I like to use when choosing players. If I'm watching said player play and they get the ball, do I think that's going to hurt me as much as the other player I'm bringing in Supercoach? Butters just seems to have every once in a while these mammoth quarters where he just gets like 15 or 16, 17, 18 even possessions. Whereas Merritt, every time Merritt gets the ball, and statistically it could be wrong, but I just feel like he just uses it so well. You check his score, he's had 6 possessions, but he's on 30. And it's just
yeah,
looks amazing. And I think honestly, Essendon will play finals. And I think that is a huge driving factor. If you guys are actually going to do something and maybe even win a final, Merritt's got to be top 3 best on ground in that game. Is that a fair statement?
yeah. Yeah, it is, but I'm not too convinced that we're definitely going to make finals just yet. Got a couple more challenges, I reckon.
So, lids off. You heard it here first. Dons are playing finals. Winning a
Oh,
final for the first time in about, I don't know, probably wasn't
I was
alive.
3 years old,
Actually, I would have been.
2004.
But you're only
That's
15. So,
yeah,
I don't
only
get that.
15.
Supercoach Pro, I told you we would get to your question, mate. You need to calm down, all right? No roid rage around here. G'day, big dogs. Which rookies you keen on from the mid-season draft and what you think of DCAM over English? We've already answered the back end of the question. Mid-season draft, I know nothing about. I didn't watch it. I know literally only who Collingwood got and who Essendon got because Joshy messaged me about it. So I'm going to shut up. Joshy, you're going to take the floor. Tell us who might play early.
Yeah, well, the pick one's always a chance. He's only an 18-year-old, but best available in the mid-season draft was Geordie Payne, a Tasmanian. I heard on the radio today, a lot of Sandfield teams wanted to get him over to play in the Sandfield this year, but he decided to stay at Tassie to play as an overager and, pick one in the draft. He's a utility. I think mid 180s size. He could play early, especially for North. They're rolling out debutants every single week, it seems like. But Richmond as well, they took 2 key position players, one a forward, one a defender. I think the one that is more likely to play is the one they took at pick 2, Jacob Blight, 22-year-old key defender, playing the waffle for Peel Thunder. I always like a mature ager in the draft, especially for Richmond, given how much they are struggling with injuries at the moment. So I think he can play early, definitely. West Coast took a Collingwood VFL player, Jack Hutchinson. He's also 22 years old, so I think he's really well, it says here explosive, powerful, medium forward. I heard Kaltumi talking about a little bit during the year on his podcast Gettable, how he's a really high flyer, good strong hands. He could play early, following the footsteps of Ryan Marich last season. And then there's Max Hall at pick 4 for St Kilda at 183 centimetre mid forward. I heard Will Day on Footy and Friends on a podcast today. He was saying that he's the next John Newcombe. Didn't want to put the moz on him, but he did say that. Coming out Box Hill, obviously he'd know him a little bit well, but
yeah, absolutely.
I'm not sure about that. But Will Day is a pretty good player in himself, so talked him up a little bit. And then even Toby Murray, ruck forward, out of the Adelaide Sandford. Obviously, his 2 brothers played AFL. Nick Murray is also at the Crows as well, but he could play. He's been playing in their VFL, in their Sandford team all season. So he's ready made in the sense that he already knows a bulk of the players, knows a bit of Adelaide's system. So he could come in early, and a ruck forward, wouldn't that be nice? A 102k playing ruck forward. It could be an absolute blessing if he comes in this week, which it might not happen, and you could just go sweet to him. But I don't think that's going to happen. And then the last one that we'll cover is Essendon picked up Saad Al Hawley. I think that's how you say it.
Very good, mate. Very good.
23-year-old from the Northern Bullants. Used to play for Werribee as well. But defender, can also play midfield and can also play wing. And at the moment, because Essendon have Nick Martin playing halfback, Durham's killing it inside, and Dersmo's injured. Cox, I think, did a little bit of a hammy last week, but he might be all right this week. We got Jake Kelly.
He's shit anyway.
Got Jake Kelly playing on the wing as well, which I hate. I'd rather him down back. A couple of good weeks in the VFL, and he could even be in. Al Hawley, I think his name is, but there's a few others that could probably pop up, especially that other key position forward that Richmond took. I'll look quickly. Campbell Gray out of Essendon VFL. He could also play early as well, just given the absolute injury fest that Richmond is currently having. But other than that, Bryn Teakle for North, he's behind Sherry, but if they play two, he could get in. But other than that, I don't actually know too much about the other players.
Yeah, well, you know more than me, mate. And with that, that is all of our questions for this evening. Who's your VC and C for this week, mate?
Well, this there's fuck all options that really bounce out to you. For me, at least, there isn't. But if I had Jordan Dawson, I'd do him against Hawthorn. I think anyone that has him should do either a VC or C on him. But I'm going to go Daicos against the Dogs on tomorrow night, actually. I have thought about maybe a VC play on Butters against Carlton tomorrow night, but I think I'm going to wait with my VC until Daicos on Friday and then probably go into C on Gawn.
Interesting that you're going Daicos when I think, firstly, looking at it, I think I'm going Bont into Gawn. Purely because our midfield is decimated. And I genuinely don't think anyone's going to be able to go with him. And realistically, if Dogs are, I guess, decent or they want to be playing finals, they should absolutely destroy us. Absolutely. I don't think you can go wrong with Daicos or Bont. Purely because I reckon Dogs win. Bont should have a day out, but Dakes is just going to get heaps of possessions anyway.
Yeah, well, I looked at it's purely off last season. He scored 139 against them, so he's got the form. But I know your midfield's completely decimated, but I think I did say on DFS that you guys give up one of the least points in the comp to inside mids, but obviously that's with Pendles, that's with DeGoey, that's with all those guys inside there. So it's a completely different landscape this week. So I might have to reconsider Bont as the VC.
Yeah, and I know we said we weren't having any more questions, but Blues fans just sent in McGovern Pod VC. Only thing worrying me is the rain. I mean,
who do West Coast play?
Is it Richmond?
No, St Kilda. So we know how. Yeah, that's a great option then. And it's at home as well. Yeah,
absolutely.
I'd definitely do VC though. I could never feel comfortable putting the C on Gov. The amount of times I've seen him go down in the first or second quarter with any possible injury, but against the Saints, a VC, why not?
And shout out to our man who is not here, who probably will go that way in Verns. He loves a McGovern captaincy option or a VC. And Supercoach Pros just sent in Stuart VC against the Tigers as well. What's your thoughts on that?
If Stuart can't score a 110 against Richmond this week, he's completely fucked. It makes me sick just watching Zach Guthrie and Max Holmes just take majority of the ball out of that half back line now.
Yep.
I mean, a
Yep.
couple of weeks ago when they got pumped by the Suns, that was Tom Stewart's, I think, like first ever game in the AFL,
With
no
no
injury affected
marks.
set, no marks. But
Yep.
I don't know. The optimist in me thinks that maybe those, his last quarter, how he was taking those intercept marks, maybe that was a confidence booster he needed. Because before that, the last few weeks, he just looks like he can't even read the ball anymore. No confidence, but given he stood up with a few clutch intercept marks in the last quarter, I'm hoping that's just the kickstart he needs.
Yeah, I can understand
Yeah.
that. In my opinion, he's not a primo anymore. Um,
No.
I'm fairly sure I told you at the start of the year, Nick Martin's going to out average him, and currently you owe me,
Oh,
mate.
yeah. Yeah. And I wish I listened to you on when I was going Whitfield or Nick Martin. I went with Whitfield. And we were talking earlier in the week that Whitfield, I'm almost considering trading out because he's got the bye this week. And
Mhm.
then he has a matchup against the Hawks, which, could probably get a good score there. But then he's got McEntee and Jordan to look out for. So two potential tags and a buy in the next 4 weeks. The Whitfield pick just gets worse and worse.
And on that note, mate, that beautiful
Yeah.
note, we are going to end it right there because we all know how much you love Whitfield. Everybody, thank you so much for joining in tonight. It's been awesome to have all the questions come through, all the connections. We weren't on last week because Vern's got engaged, so that's the second huge part of the news as well.
Yes.
So shout out to Verns, who, at the moment, he's probably just gone to MVP in his like Div 419 basketball game. I'm sure he's had a cracker. Thank you so much for everyone that's been here. As we all know, available on YouTube, Spotify. Shout out to Verns again for the consensus team. Jump in the Discord. You know where to find it. Linktree's in the bio. Joshy, thank you so much for being here. And also, if you haven't said happy birthday to Joshy, going through adolescence is a tough time. We've all done it. Shout out to him. Happy 13th birthday, mate. Is there anything you want to say?
It was just nice the other day, turning 15, sorry, being able to have my first full bottle of 1.25 litre Pepsi. It
Yep.
did keep me up before going to sleep, but, it was just the best birthday present I could have asked for.
Because the lid's off and the Dons are playing finals. You heard it here
Oh,
first, everyone.
don't say
Um,
it.
check us out on TikTok. We're all over that. But Joshy's been slacking, needs to put up his round reviews.
Yeah, I will,
So
yeah.
if we can get on top of that, we are absolutely laughing. Thank you to everyone. Check out the guys at Honeyball. You've got presser updates, you've got injury updates, you've got real-time automated updates. You will not find anything like it anywhere else. Tell them the boys from the Supercoach Hub sent you, and you can find me on Twitter at Scobie_SC Hub. Joshy, where can the listeners find you, mate?
Just on Twitter at JG_SC Hub.
Perfect, mate. And on that note, we are absolutely done. Next week, we hope to be back at 9:05 on Tuesday. If not, it'll be Wednesday night. Have a fantastic evening, everyone. And thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great evening.